Okay, so we are just passing the baton from the Americas to Australia Pacific region. And I would like to introduce Sarah Barker, the Global Head of Climate Risk Governance at Minter Ellison. Sarah, I'd like to ask you the following questions. First of all, please could you set the scene by placing the Chancery Lane project into the context of your legal sector? Secondly, could you outline your involvement with TCLP so far and why it's important to introduce TCLP into the Asia and Pacific jurisdictions? And what is the potential impact in those jurisdictions? Finally, what do you hope to come out of this stretch of the hack? Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Jenny. When I was reflecting on the role of the TCLP within the legal ecosystem, the legal profession as a whole, I was thinking about the way that law firms in particular like to position themselves and ourselves, which is as innovative, as practical, as solutions focused. But for those of us within the profession, that isn't necessarily the first thing that comes to mind for us when we think about our own profession. We might think about it as being conservative, hierarchical, intellectual, for intellectuality's sake, and risk averse. And the more we progress through the profession, the more pressure there is on us to specialise and develop expertise. And because the law is so broad, in order to do that, it seems like the areas of focus that we need to look at in order to develop an area of expertise just get narrower and narrower and narrower. And so within those silos, it's very, very hard to innovate. It's very, very hard to look up and out and forward. And that is why I think the Chancery Lane project is so critical as part of our legal ecosystem, because it not only allows us to look up and out and collaborate across our professional silos, but it harnesses the power of us doing so. It harnesses the power of our diversity, of our unique contributions within the law, and celebrates not only professional diversity, but diversity of life experience, diversity of age, diversity of background. And so that's why I think it is so important and fundamental within our profession, so that we can actually live that purpose that we articulate to be innovative, practical, solutions focused. So the second question you asked me, Jenny, was about why is the TCLP so important in the Asia Pacific region? As we know, ultimately the end game with climate change is in relation to the health of our natural environment. And historically, it's been the case that it has been ring-fenced in the public discourse very much as an environmental issue that's inversely related to the generation of financial wealth. And so as a consequence, when it has been ring-fenced as this environmental issue, we can understand how at a federal policy level, many governments in the Asia Pacific region have not been renowned for taking the necessary huge transformational steps that we need to take as a society in order to limit global warming to safe levels. But we know that the drivers of that environmental outcome that we're driving towards, the drivers of change are not just environmental. A big part of the solution is based in markets, not just federal emissions policy, but markets, financial markets, the real economy, technology. And the law is a key enabler of all those markets. So in that way, a critical importance of the Chancery Lane project in the Asia Pacific region is to allow us to focus our legal power on being able to pull those market levers that are so critical to achieving the environmental solution that's required in the absence of a federal policy solution in that way. The potential impact of the Chancery Lane project, I think its real power is in its focus on solutions. So often in the climate change space, we do focus on risk, and I'm a corporate lawyer, so I love risk. But when all we do is talk about risk, that can lead to fear, and it can lead to paralysis. So one of the really critical strengths of the Chancery Lane project here, I think, is its focus on the solutions. And when we can get people to focus on the solutions, that is a really key way of normalising and mainstreaming the understanding of this environmental issue as a financial risk, and therefore harnessing the power of markets as the strong lever that they are in order to affect change. Your last question, Jenny, what do I hope to get out of today, other than to prove my husband wrong when he said that corporate lawyers can't change the world? Well, I don't want to preempt specifics in terms of the particular clauses that might be hacked, because I certainly don't want to cloud anyone's creativity. But at a more macro level, what I would hope is for the Chancery Lane project's impact in the Asia Pacific to even be a fraction of what it's been able to achieve in the UK in the past 12 months. It's just been extraordinary to watch. 80% of the largest 25 law firms in the UK actively participating in the Chancery Lane project. FTSE 100 companies sending their legal counsel to participate. So for me, I would like to see us looking back in 12 months and seeing similar progress in seeing large law firms, companies integrate Chancery Lane project clauses into their precedents. And so we no longer have this difference between contractual clauses that are directed towards risk allocation and financial ends and sustainability related clauses. It's just clauses, because then we will have succeeded in mainstreaming. Most importantly, I think that we need to keep in mind, as has been my experience as a corporate lawyer in the climate change space, is that this year's crazy ideas drive next year's mainstream expectations. So I'm really excited to see the ideas that come out of today as the signal for where we can be in a very short space of time into the future. So thank you so much for having me, and I'll hand back to you, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That's fantastic. And I certainly echo those